Welcome to the Journey 2020 and coming off the weekend, and blessings to you as we, sadly, I say, every time each morning I get up, oh, by the way, I'm Charles Morris. This is the Journey 2020 where we come to you every Monday at 7 p.m. Every morning when I get up, I turn on the TV and I look at the numbers, and it's just it's just like crazy numbers of the people who have died from the coronavirus. And you can't find the right words, and you don't want to become, it's like, there's a certain thing that they call tone deaf, and becoming numb to the situation. And we like to call these terms or address it the new normal, because the new normal shouldn't be these high numbers. But that's a different show. I hope that somehow, some way, that the people will start to wake up and understand the truth of some things about our country and what it is, but what it could be if we just cared enough just outside your own door, because there's more to life than just yourself. There's a discussion that you always have among family and friends as we try to address ourselves, our understanding, our purpose, and our truth. And one of the things that I always say is that you can't give people righteousness. People can call themselves in being right, but is it righteousness? You may do what's right for yourself, but that doesn't make it right. So there's some of us who can understand what that means, and some of us who don't have a clue other than to look inward, and as they look outward, they can only see what is beneficial for themselves. You can't legislate that. You can't give people a spirit of understanding of something other than themselves, to understand there's something else higher than you. That's another show. I'm sorry that when I look at those numbers, and when I look at this country and see where we are and some of the things and the battles that we're going through, it's just sad, because there are more people that are going to die unnecessarily, and the battles that we're fighting and the things that we're fighting shouldn't be, because supposedly we are the United States of America. Supposedly one of the best countries on the earth. That's not true. These numbers are showing that. Our leadership are showing truly who we are as a nation. That's not what the show is supposed to be about today. But when I think of those numbers, when I look and I hear what I hear every day, it's so frustrating, because it's almost like, what else has to happen in this country for the people to wake up and see the truth? Because it may not be you, but it may be somebody that you love. With that being said, on the third Monday of every month, we have our very own Cathy Meeks. And she is out of the offices of Robinson Associates. She's a clinical psychologist, a sex therapist, and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of fun with her. And she's joining us today. But also on the fourth Monday, we either have our life coach. We call her, we call her our life coach. But her name is Regina Johnson, a.k.a. Lynn. And either we have Nakina Krumah from Young Fathers of Central Florida, who comes and talks about one of the best programs and all probably in the United States, where he mentored young fathers as young as ages 12 on up to about age 24, 27. It's an organization, not it's an organization that it's that has 9 programs in the organization, and they do a great job. And it's funny because I asked him when he was on the show, how much money has he gotten as far as the state for back child payment, and it was quite a few millions of dollars. So the state is real happy that Hakeem Nkrumah is around with. Whether or not in the relationship as a whole, how we dealing with stuff mentally and emotionally, just from being a husband, a wife, a parent, a sister, a brother, how we dealing with stuff. And well, first of all, let me ask you, how are you and family? Everybody's okay?
God is good. Yes, we are all okay. I have no family member who is impacted by this pandemic.
Hmm.
So that is a blessing in itself. I
Okay.
mean, health wise, I have people who have, who are out of work due to the pandemic. But other than that, every day I'm alive, I give thanks. And my family's doing good. Thank you for asking. How about you?
Um, Family members are okay. I recently attended a funeral for my uncle last month. I was telling you I was up in North Carolina, and I went back 2 weeks ago to get some of his stuff to bring down because they were cleaning out his house. But he was dealing with other stuff, but not from the pandemic. He was
Hmm.
dealing with, he was 85, and he was dealing with some kidney problems and some other ailments. But I do, let me share this with you. I want people to hear this. Let me share this with you. I have a friend. She told me, she said, Charles, I have the symptoms. Now I want you to think about this. She said, I have the symptoms, but my tests are coming back negative. Okay, so she's in and out of the hospital. She's not doing well at all. There was a couple of times she told me that she thought she was going to die, but the test was coming back negative. Okay, so after 90 days, her test came back positive.
Wow.
Okay, she was still dealing with this after 130 days, and she's still dealing with it. So it's probably been about 140 plus days now. She's still dealing with this. But think about over 90 days, her test finally came back positive. She was in and out of the hospital out of those 90 days. I want you to think about that now. All right. And then
It's
there's some other
crazy.
friends who have had the virus, had no temperature. You know how they like to take your temperature, right?
Hmm.
They take your
Yeah.
temperature, right? They had no temperature, but they had the virus and
But
was
they
ill
had the
and was sick,
virus.
right? Right. Yeah. So I want you to think about that.
So many things are unknown about this virus.
Right.
Every time we are thinking that we have a handle on it, we hear these stories. Because I have clients who have had it and have tested negative after the positive results. They were quarantined and they did everything, and they're still having problems with taste and smell and lethargy. They're still having those after effects. So we still
Well,
don't know enough. We don't even know how it spread.
well, the funny thing is, I had another friend that I spoke to last week, as a matter of fact. Another friend that I spoke to last week, and she went to the doctor for a checkup. And the doctor told her she had the antibodies, which meant she had it.
She had
But she,
it.
but she didn't know she had it. Okay, so the doctor said, well, you had it a while ago because that takes time. The antibodies take time to build up into your system. But because the doctor said she's healthy, and so on and so forth. But she remembered going on a trip with someone, and she remembered the person who she went on the trip with became very ill. This was a few months ago. But the mere fact that she had it and didn't know it. So, and I said, have you had, because she's married, and I said, well, have you had your husband tested? And she said, well, yeah, he's been tested 3 times, which, again, the conversation we just had, does that really mean anything? I don't know. You know, it's kind of, I mean, it's scary.
Yes.
You know, but I want to ask you, there's so many questions, because I like to come from the clinical part, the psychological part, where we are spiritually, you know, and emotionally. But for your clientele, is it still the same? What are some of the struggles, some of the things from your end that we're going through now? Is it still the same? Has the stress level risen? Is it still the same? How are we coping in your circle of your clientele?
I would say there's an increase with in anxiety in people, depression, couples who are doing well. We're
Hmm.
seeing that they're having more issues, more separations, and more people are coming in, because they are just realizing now that they're stuck together with not enough activities, they're realizing that they're living with a stranger.
Wow.
Yes, because they were married, passing each other, by the way, and they didn't realize that they really didn't know their partners. So I'm seeing quite a bit of that.
Let me. I'm gonna ask a question, and I hope it's not a strange question, because this is just Charles speaking right now. And let
I
me see
could
if I can
dissect
phrase it.
that, but I
No, no, no.
won't.
Let me see if I can phrase it correctly. With what you just said, because that's strange to me, but there's nothing new under the sun. Did you say that in reference to people who are caught up into the world and their values, and I hope that phrase, values of that of the world, and not truly understanding what it means to be in a relationship when you get married, understanding for better, for worse? I'm with you because of my perception of who I think you are materialistically, what you can do for me, and how I can rise above others because of my status, versus understanding the highs and the lows of life and what comes with it, that it's not about all these things that you can do for me, and understanding that we're together. This is me speaking of saying why we should be together,
Mhm.
because this is what a family is. A family, we stick together like glue. We try to have the family values, and we go through the highs and lows of life because that's what families are for, and that's what they were intended to be. They don't come unglued for the little simple things that happens in life, or even the difficult things that happen in life. But these are the things that our culture and our society has not learned in some way, but they're together because of their understanding of some other meaning of purpose of a relationship. And I hope that I asked that question correctly.
Yeah. That's a very long question. But
Well,
the
I'm
longest, it's
saying
not even as
their
deep.
their 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 purpose and understanding of what a family is supposed to be is not that in which it was intended to be, Their understanding of purpose and family is that in which the world says what's in your bank account and what can you do for me, and who am I materialistically to the world.
Well, there is some of that, but it's not even that deep with some of the couples. It's just that who they thought they were married to in terms of, just likes, dislikes, basic things. They're realizing that no, this person does not have the qualities that they thought because they didn't take the time at the outset to get to know them. And then life happens. And some of them may have had children, some of them do have children, young children. But because they were working, they weren't spending enough time together. So now they find themselves without another outlet. So they're forced to sit down and have some conversations. And they're realizing that some of the belief system is completely different. They're diametrically opposed.
But okay, see, um, I've had a couple of people on the show, and like I had Stan Murray on the show. He's a sheriff and he's a pastor. And I had Cynthia Harris on the show, and they were talking about some things with stuff going on with the kids and robbery in the neighborhood. And I just must be naive as all get out. Because some of this stuff is just like so ABC to me. And people,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's just so see, Cathy, if you were saying that there was somebody like 19, 20, 21 year old that was coming in to see you, that part I understand. Yeah, I mean, you see what I'm saying? If they like 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 coming in, going through this now, I get that. But if you got some people coming in there and they 40, 50, 60 years old, this is me struggling with who taught you what? It's like somebody failed you somewhere along the line, having you understand the foundation of family and truth and purpose because you so into the world. Now, that's me speaking, because some of that stuff is just mind-boggling because of what I saw growing up. I grew up in an extremely dysfunctional family, but it was family. They
Mm-hmm.
took care of each other. They looked out for each other. Still, I mean, I don't get when you say that this
Different
virus is
time. That's just a different time, though, Charles. That's a different time. People
Kathy,
nowadays, they're
you gotta
marrying
help
for
me. You
different
gotta help me
reasons.
understand something. When you say different times, I don't understand what that means. See, I get a
What
different
that means
time
is
when
that
you no, I'm saying I get a different time when you say, well, the kids are kind of stuck on a cell phone. The kids are doing this now. The kids that kind of stuff I get. But when it comes to understanding the the values of my family, because that never, no, this is me speaking now, that should never change. There are people who I know who from the beginning of time get married all for the wrong reasons. That will always take place. But for a
Mhm.
lot of us, and what you're saying now, and by the way, our life coach is on now, so she's listening. She when you, and I'm not disagreeing with you, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not, that's not my point of making this comment. I'm saying it's mind-boggling to me that your foundation has no foundation. So I'm with you and I have kids and a family and you have no concept of what family is. It's just mind-boggling to me. That's all.
What about they don't have a self-concept? Let's just start there.
Okay.
You're talking about foundations of a marriage, but in an ideal world, you have people who are basing their marriage off those fundamental principles, God is there, and you got to know the person, and you go through all the different things. But that's not why some people get married today. You have people who are getting married for different reasons. Sometimes they get married just because the person looks good or they have a good job and they never took the time to really know them. And then you have some people who don't even know who they are. So if they don't know who they are as a person, what do they have to contribute to a marriage?
Well, that's what I meant. If they were like 19, 20, 21, 22, 20, that part I understand. But if they're in their late 30s and 40s and stuff like that, and that's where, but I'll always say this. I will always say this. When my mom was 32, okay, my mom 32, my mother and my grandmother 32 years old. 32 today is like maybe 21 and a half. I'll say that out loud 24/7. 32 today is like when my mom was 20, 21. Cause 32 today is like grandma in the club. Cause grandma was on the porch when I was a kid. She wasn't in the club. She 32 and she a grandma. Well, that's a whole nother show. I don't want to go there. I don't want to. I'll leave that one alone. Let's just talk about where we were in the sense of the values and the reasons why we get married. I don't even want to go to the
Oh, you want to
32-year-old
talk
grandma
about
in
the
the club.
reasons why we get married? Well, some people have different concept of what marriage is. Some, there are so many different, okay, we know what the Bible says about marriage, but the reality is, at least what I'm seeing is, marriage is not just between a man and a woman. I'm having, same-sex couples, and that is considered a marriage. And they're coming for marital counseling and they're facing issues. So, we have to think about those things. In an ideal world, it's a marriage that has a good foundation, what you would term a good foundation. It's based on biblical principles. That's not what I see in my clinic. I'm seeing different types of marriages, and these people are having different challenges. And especially with the pandemic, based on their concept of what marriage is, you have this adversity that comes upon them, and they don't know how to deal with it.
Okay. Now, what? I understand that. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's no,
I'm just saying, it's
no,
not
no,
just
no.
between a man and a woman, based on biblical principles.
That's a whole nother show too. But that's that.
That, yeah.
Yeah. But life is, to me, is simple in the sense of
To you,
that's why I said to me.
to,
To me.
it is supposed to be.
Well. First of all, let's say hi to our life coach. How you doing, life coach? How you doing?
I'm well. How is everyone? Good to see you.
Doing great, doing great. Good to see you.
Good, good.
I like the hair, it looks good.
I'm working on some things. Thank you. Yes.
Uh, um, and we? Did you hear part of what we were saying, Regina, in reference to She was saying. Let me see if I can backtrack for a second. She was saying I was asking the questions about where we are in the heighten of some of the things that in her circle of clientele, and then she was kind of explaining that what she's seeing a lot in relationships and marriage, people coming to find out that they don't really know each other and some other things, and I guess the virus is starting to expose some good and some bad. I don't know, but I'm finding that a little I guess, bizarre. Like I said, I can understand the younger couples, but when you're older and some of these, when you can't spend time, I'm blown away when you can't spend time together, or when you're being forced to spend time. And you know what? I shouldn't say force. I shouldn't say forced to spend time together. But when you're spending, now you have more time to spend together. You're having all these other issues, which I guess, again, I'm naive and lost, because it should be the opposite to me, but that's a whole nother world. But that's where we are, and that's what we were talking about. And she's talking about the clientele and some of the difficult things that are going on now because of the virus. Did I explain that right? I'm sorry, I should have just let you explain it.
You did.
So, so I'm asking Cathy, are these like young couples, old, mid, or what's like the, is there such thing as like the average age of what's going on when it comes to a lot of the issues? What's like the average age? Can I ask that question?
The average age of the couples right now, um, it varies, but I would say 30s, early 40s. At least that's what I'm seeing. Because most of them, they read my profile before they come to me. So, you have some of the younger ones, but I also, I'm seeing older couples who are facing some of these issues who have been married for many years. Marriage is work. Marriage is not an easy thing, Charles.
Well,
It's really not. And
well,
you have people grow apart. So there
that's
is
not.
this ebb and flow in marriages, and there are peaks and valleys. And when you're in the valley, and the pandemic forces people to be in the valley. And when we're in the valley, that's when they realized that there was a disconnect that occurred a long time ago. The pandemic just puts the spotlight on it.
Mhm, mhm.
So marriage is not being blissful all the time. I'm having people who have been married for many, many years, and they grew apart and they didn't realize it because
Well,
the
now,
age thing.
now, I never said it was like a walk in the park. That's not my. That's not my. What I'm trying to say. That's not what I'm saying. It's gonna always be work, because that's what life is. It's forever evolving, ever changing. But the whole purpose of it is to understand. I'm sorry, and having the foundation and understanding of it, because without it, what do we have? So um, it's just.
That's a kind of simplistic way of looking at it, though, Charles, because you have some started out on a good foundation. And before you know it, they just drift apart. They grew apart. And because they were so busy, they did not address those issues. And they continue to drift apart. And they're okay because they're so busy. They were so busy in their lives. So now, with things slowing down, they are realizing the great disparity between them. But some of those marriages were based on a good foundation.
Well, well, Kathy, let me say this, because okay, let me say this, and I'm gonna seem like the oddball, okay? And
Okay.
this is just my perspective. There isn't there is not a job. There's not enough money. There's not enough this or that, whatever supersede my understanding of my position that I am in if I was ever married or have children. It's not based on what I can give my family in the sense of the material things. I would rather have less money, less things, and to have time and to live a comfortable life that has nothing to do with material stuff, because that's just the way I am. So my thing of it is that I would do everything in my power, if it means less money, to have us be able to sit at the table as much as possible, to spend time together in the house, a meal as much as possible, because I would never, because let me tell you something, this may sound weird to most people. I don't have kids, but it's always been weird to me when parents say stuff. This is just weird to me. Well, I want to give my kids certain things because I didn't have them. That part I understand. But the other side of that too is that I look who came before me. And so, and I know who my mom and my grandmother and how hard they worked. And my mom worked a blue collar job her entire life. I saw the sacrifice that she made, and I saw the things that she did. So when I see my kids, I don't know how I can, this is just me now, they are not better than my mom. My job to me is to not give my kids these things in the world. My job is to provide them with shelter, food, and a warm place to stay, and to help them understand who they are, and to understand that there's nothing that they can't do, and how to deal with conflict, and to love themselves, and to know that God loves them, and to find their purpose. My job is not to give them expensive shoes, a car, an expensive house to live in. That's not my job. That's not my purpose. My
I
job
agree.
is to help them understand who they are and what they can become. So
Hmm.
my focus is to help them better understand inward, outward, to deal with the reality of their purpose, not to value them on meaningless things in which we put value on. So that's just me and how I am. So when I look and I see people and they try to raise these kids based on these kids they have this sense of entitlement. I wasn't raised like that. And when I think of all the sacrifices and the people who died before me and the things that they did, I look at my child and say, well, who the hell are you? I never think that you're too good for anything. I don't get that concept at all. I know how hard my mom worked. I know the sacrifice, and to look at my child and think you can't sweat, that's crazy to me. That's crazy as heck to me. And so when parents have this thing and they tell my child, no, no. I don't think like that, but that's just me. That's just me. So when people come up and it's kind of like they get on their little high horse and they think they too good for that, think they too good for that. It wasn't too good for the people before me. It wasn't too good for my mom. It wasn't too good for my dad. So why is it too good for my child? So I don't get that. But that's just me. I'm sorry. That's
But you
just.
know something, Charles? I get what you're saying. And in an ideal world, that would be great because that type of parenting was modeled for you. But some parents or some of the adults that we're seeing now in marriages having children, that was not modeled for them. So they don't know what that stability looks like. They grew up on the streets and they had to make it because the father was not in the home or the mother was on drugs or doing three, four jobs. So that type of lifestyle was not modeled for them. So, and again, you have some parents who are parenting out of guilt because they had to work to provide food and they had to leave the children to fend for themselves. So, what they do, they overcompensate by giving them the things that they need. And I'm not making excuses for some of these parents, but you can't give what you don't have. If you didn't have that foundation, then it's difficult to give that to your children and to your spouse because it wasn't modeled for you. You see, it was modeled for you. So you can just take this, you can take this narrow look and say it's simple, but it's not that simple for many.
Oh, yeah, well, I totally agree. But it is simple. We just make it complicated. Life. I know what I'm saying is life is simple. We just make it complicated. You know, it, it is. It's when you put forth all these other things that has no value, which is part of what I was saying. And I get what you're saying, because that's the struggle of life, if what we're talking about now, understanding the things of value, because our value system are the things that have no value. It, Lynn, you've been like really quiet.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take this one.
Yeah, no, I was waiting for you to finish. And what I wanted to say was the influences that parents have today are different than the influences you and I had. I first, what decade of my life, I lived with my grandmother. We ate dinner every night at the table. My grandfather was a pastor. We went to church. We had all of that. Every stereotype you could think of, we did in my family. Even when the second decade of my life, when I went to go live with, my father and my stepmother, we still had dinner every night. But then you shift into becoming a parent, and your influences have changed. And I grew up in the household that had, both two parents in the home, father who worked every day, mother who worked every day, still came home and cooked dinner. But the influences, the media, I'm not going to blame it on the media, but the media, the technology, all of that kind of shifted and changed the family dynamic. Along with the increase in divorce and single parent homes and things of that nature. And so I do agree with Dr. Meeks in that you have children parenting out of guilt, parenting on what they perceived were things of value that they did not have, based on the images that they see in television, the images that they see in entertainment, the images that they see in sports. And it's difficult to overcome that. I was talking to my aunt yesterday about a Facebook friend of mine. I won't say what his occupation is because tell people who he is. But I was very surprised at this young man in his 40s and the attachment that he has to material things in his 40s. And I knew how he grew up. I knew him from a baby. And he grew up the same way that I did. And so I'm just surprised at, sneakers and cars and name brand this and name brand that he is, that his children are seeing that. And there was a picture that I saw on Facebook where his son was emulating him with being proud of a pair of sneakers that he had received. So I said all that to say the images that we had to model after are no more. And you're right. It would be nice to see parenting where you're teaching, you're having, your dinner at the dinner table. The television is off. There's no electronic devices, and you're having a conversation with your children. But I believe that for the most part, that is long gone. I don't know what the solution is to get back to something like that or to model something like that in this new age. But the way we did it, for the most part, in our community, I believe, is gone. Now, I know other communities, Hispanic communities, Asian communities, that it's not necessarily that way. But for our community, with the increase that we have in single parenting and the mother, working two jobs, and like you said, leaving the kids to fend for themselves, that it's kind of hard to get back to the way that you and I grew up. If that makes sense. I know.
Yeah, there was a gentleman that worked at one of the churches that I work with, and I pat him on his back because what goes on in his house with him and his wife and his two children is that they have a specific time to spend on electronic devices. As long as they're in the house, their electronic devices they're allowed to use at this certain time, however many, what it might be 2 hours a day, whatever it is. After those 2 hours, they're not allowed on those devices anymore. But that's how he run his household. And so now I'm going to kind of shift gears for a minute, because when you said what you said, it reminded me of someone, Kathy, of now the son is in his 40s, and I know that he is extremely dysfunctional. The relationship is dysfunctional because she had him at 16, got a divorce at 18. She left and was with the father. He was with the father, and he would come visit. When the child became a teenager, so on and so forth, or older, she has spent all of these years trying to buy him, because the question was asked, why did you leave me? Basically, I've seen how dysfunctional that relationship has been, to the fact, and I'm leaving a lot of stuff out, but he's an alcoholic, a whole bunch of other stuff. But to this day, she's still trying to make up for that question, because the entire time she's been trying to buy her son, and that's what he knows. And to this day, when I ask about him, she'll make something in reference to him taking advantage of her, but she allows it because that's the relationship she has built, trying to buy him for the guilt she has felt because she had him young, she left him with the father, and she went on to herself. And now, all these years, she's been trying to buy him, and it has never worked. And the relationship is so dysfunctional. So I've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you see, it's not as simple as we think sometimes. There are so many factors that go into these marriages and these relationships. I'm laughing at you.
I know, right?
Um, yeah. So yeah, can't give what you don't have.
Well, it's just it's a downward fall and talk. You know what? Anyway. I just think we're falling in a deep hole as a culture and as a society. But hey, that's just my opinion.
But something, I have to say this though. I am very optimistic that there will be a change, because I have to say that 4 or 5 years ago, you would not see many blacks, not necessarily African Americans, coming to therapy to work through relationships, because there was such a stigma. If you're going to a counselor or you're going to a marriage counselor. But what I'm seeing more and more, I'm seeing some couples fighting for their marriages, and because they're realizing that they do not have the tools to navigate life with their partner, with their families, and they're coming to therapy now, because the communication deficits, coupled with the pandemic and the economic crisis, is forcing them to seek help. So now they're getting help to they're getting help in their lives in general, because it's not just they're realizing that it's not just about the relationship or the anxiety issues that they're having, realizing that they did not have that foundation.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of an old Richard Pryor joke when he says, "Well, I'm in love with this woman that I can't stand."
Exactly.
It's, it's like I can't stand her, but I love her. you
Yeah,
know.
yes.
So, but that's I don't. But Kathy is. I mean, Kathy. Regina. I don't know because I mean, both of you. I've had conversation. I mean, I've talked to Regina about as she deals with couples when it comes to finances, and then you hear, well, the differences in who they are when it comes to the material things, and one is not materialistic, the other one is, so on and so forth. So the values are different, and their perspective on what is important in the marriage is different, and that's what you deal with a lot, Kathy. Two people coming together. I'm trying to express to you who I am. I'm expressing to you how I see this person, and then the person sitting there going, well, that's really not who I am, and that person really can't see me for who I am, and then we are together because we don't know because I thought you was this and I thought you were that. And then there's always the thing of, well, I thought I could change them. That happens a lot, right? I thought I could change them, right? So how many times have you had that conversation, Kathy?
Oh my goodness, all the time. And I mean, my sisters, I see that very often. They're marrying potentials. They're not seeing they're not seeing the men for who they are. They're marrying the potential. Well, if he just does this, he'll be just a great guy. It doesn't work. You gotta love the person, warts and all. We call it warts and all, and that's when your marriage is going to work. Or if you marry potential, that person has got to have the mindset to put in the work and be committed to you. Otherwise, it's not going to work. But I see a lot of people coming to me because they didn't know the person. They married potential. Even when the person is showing them who they are, they don't want to believe that because they think they can change them.
What that's, I get that.
Regina can't, is jumping out of her seat.
I thought I was muted. Am I muted? Okay. Yes, I see that a lot. And the red flags are all over the place, flag on the play, but they are just being ignored because they want to be married. They want to be married
Mhm.
to this particular person. They've gone through counseling, some of them. The pastor has told them, but they know better than the pastor or the counselor, whomever, and they can change them, or it's not that bad, or this is just the way it is now. It is going to get better. All of that comes into play. And I love what what Dr. Cathy said about potentials, because some couples have been waiting for years for the potential to develop
Potential.
into something. And then by the time they come to me, they're on the edge of bankruptcy because the potential never
Exactly.
manifested.
Exactly.
So ladies,
Yes.
men, don't ignore those red flags. They don't go away automatically when you say
Away.
I do. They don't disappear.
Yeah. They
But
see the red flags and they think it's pink and they just minimize it. Just a little pink dot because they're not thinking of it as a red flag.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
so, Kathy, as we speak up on this pandemic and all the things that we see and what's going on, what okay, let me see if I can clarify this, because this is, I don't want to get too long-winded on this as well. But my personal opinion is, I think that in this country that we have a false sense of what this government is, and we truly think that this government are here to take care of us, are looking out for us, and it has never been that ever in the history of this country. We have a false sense of reality, and the number shows it every day. And I think
Mm-hmm.
our inability to step into the reality of our own responsibility, and I think we lost Kathy there for a minute, but me, oh, okay, she's back. Okay, did you,
I think we're having problems with the internet.
oh, okay. I know, I can see you.
Or I don't know what's going on, but something
Right.
is going on.
Right. But yeah, I can see. But I think we have a false sense of reality of the responsibility of ourselves. Uh, because Kathy, I say this every week on the show. I say this every week. Do not listen to these people out of DC, because this is a day by day thing. This is a day by day thing because they're trying to figure it out. But
Exactly.
their mindset is go make money at whatever cost. You go make money. We're not here to help you. We tried to give you a little bit of something, but this is not what we're here to do. We're not. You would think at this time this country would say, okay, we need to help our people. You can't say it enough. This government does not have your best interests at heart, let alone you putting the people in place to do so. But we're so divided among ourselves down here that they have very little to worry about, because we can't come together enough on the lower level to deal with the reality of who they are on the high level. So they sit pretty good, because they're at this moment there's not enough friction for enough chaos where they would feel threatened enough to say, well, you know what, if we don't do this for the people, I might be out of here. But that's just my opinion. But my statement that I'm trying to say is, in all of this that's going on, we need to realize that we need to look more to ourselves to better take care of ourselves overall among this pandemic, versus listening to what we consider our leaders to help us to better put ourselves in a better situation to deal with this, because the leadership is just not there. And so that's just my own personal opinion, that we have to really just use common sense to say, what is it that I need to do to try to make it through this, versus trying to look through our government. Just use some common sense of how to deal with this, versus listening to what's coming out of DC. And you need to vote.
Well, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to give the floor to Regina. Listen, government is not there to take care of us. I'm sorry. It's not. And if we first have to try to figure things out for ourselves and start things, help one another at the grassroots level. You and I, what we can do is to influence people to be empowered to help themselves, the leaders in the community at the grassroots level. But thinking of those up there, none of them, whether this government or the other government, they're not there to take care of us. That has to be in us to take care of ourselves, and then start looking out for our brothers and our sisters and help them along the way. Coaching, counseling, doing things at the level to help each other, but not those people up there. They were never there to help us. Most of them go in to be enriched. but it's not about people, especially people of color. We can't look to them. The only time, most times, history shows is when they need votes that they come around and try to do something to bribe people.
Right.
That's the way I see it. It's not just this government. This one is the worst, but they're not the only ones.
Mhm.
Life coach, you got the floor.
I do agree. We have to do the best we can for ourselves, and I do believe that we need to come together as a community to help each other, and even cross culturally, not just in
Mhm.
the black community helps the black community, Hispanic community, blah blah blah, and on and so forth. But cross culturally, get in there and help each other. And to depend on this government is probably one of the biggest mistakes one could make at this time, because you're going to be waiting for a long time for any significant amount of help that's going to help you out of your situation. We have to become creative when it comes to um, seeking out income, new ways to make money legally. But to just sit and wait on Congress to act, they don't care about you. You see, the second stimulus is still not happening. It's probably going to be some time before it ever does happen, because the two sides are just not going to come together, and you just can't wait on that and think that's the silver bullet that's going to be, the magic pill that's going to make this all go away. It's just not.
All right. Well, I want to thank the both of you for taking the time to come on the Journey 2020. Kathy, I would like for Regina to, Regina, just briefly, tell Kathy a little about Brother Can We Talk and what it's been like for the past 2 weeks on the show, because Regina has been appointed on the board. She don't know it yet, but just kind of tell us, just kind of give Kathy a little something about Brother Can We Talk and what it's been like for the past two weeks.
Well, Dr. Kathy, for the last 2 weeks, they have allowed women into their den, into their
Okay,
man
good.
cave. And it has been very enlightening for me. I think that 2 weeks ago, the question was posed to women. Women were on the panel and were able to contribute. This past Sunday, yesterday, I thought it was going to be where just the men would talk and the women would listen, but they so graciously allowed us to chime in with our opinions on the topic was the angry black woman. Is this a myth? Is it true? Is it false?
Oh,
And
man.
you have to watch it. I believe it's out on YouTube. Charles can send you the link.
Okay.
It was an awesome show. I didn't think anything could be better than the week before. This is just me talking, and not and last week before last, I was not. I was there, but I wasn't there. This week I did participate, so I'm not saying it because I was a part of it. No, it was really, really, really good, and we got to hear both sides, and I was just excited to be a part of it. So if you get a chance to watch it on YouTube, Charles is going to send you the link. We'd like to know what you think about it, and hopefully you can come and be a part of it next time they invite. They call us the queens. Next time they invite the queens on, and
Oh,
everybody,
okay.
yes, they listen to our opinion, and we listen to theirs, and there's a lot of give and take. And I guess you look at Charles. I should be quiet now. But the topics are very, very interesting, and they
Okay.
just kind of spin off they go in a direction wherever they go, and the guys are really good about letting us speak, or at least they were the last couple of weeks anyway. So,
Okay.
Well, the
Yes, I've been
topic,
so busy the past couple of weeks I haven't been able to participate, but I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, the question that's being asked for this coming week, which I'm going to send out, by the way, as far as a promo, and that one of the queens asked a question about whether or not men go through things when they're going through a breakup or divorce. So we're going to talk about who we are when we're dealing with a breakup or divorce, So it's perceived as if though men, you know, we cry in the dark. So that's what we do. What
And
not
to
Okay.
us, we just think they just get over it. So that's gonna be great.
right?
It's gonna be good.
Well,
Yeah.
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 That's yeah. You might be surprised because what we talked about afterwards, you might be surprised because because the whole question, and I was trying to say, I wasn't trying to answer the question. But what I said was, it sounds from the questions as if though we're not human beings. Because when I hear that, that's the first thing I think. It'd be like, what? You trying to say I'm not human? Because that's what it projects. But then I guess it's the image that we portray. So we're going to address
Right.
all of that this coming Sunday at 7. So
And
the
Okay.
it's
guys,
a diverse group of men and women, which also I think contributes to the greatness of the show. People from all walks of life are participating. So good.
That's good. Very
so
good.
yeah. So with that, I'm so
Now
happy.
do you justice, Charles?
Hey, I can't say it better than you because you're coming from the woman's perspective. So I can't say it better than you, you know?
Okay.
So, but by the way, because I mean, I try. That's one of the reasons why I love when Pastor Crutch is on. And I try every week to either have somebody like Cathy on or Dr. Robinson. Dr. Robinson said he's going to come and join us Sunday because I want the clinical part. I mean, I try to have the spiritual and the clinical part on. I think that's so key
Mm-hmm.
to everything in which we talk about. So as we speak on this and who we are, I think it's so important that women understand from the clinical part our challenges that we face from our culture and our society, how we're trained to really become a walking time bomb, really, because we don't have your outlet. And we're trained to be not a human being. So we will talk more about that Sunday. So because our culture train us to not be human. And so we're going to talk about that. So
All right. Sounds good.
yes. Anyway, this is the Journey 2020. We were talking about Brother Can We Talk that take place on Sundays at 7 p.m. here on my page here, and we're also live on Zoom and we're on Twitter as well. So and we're on YouTube. So we're gonna share that with you, Dr. Meeks, so you can kind of give a taste or flavor. We
Okay.
got to get you on Facebook. I know that you're in such demand that your Facebook page would just blow up. You know, uh,
Okay.
and with that being said, let me do this real quick. I can never get out of here without letting people know, about you. So let me see if I can find it. Won't you give out your information here? Let me see if I can put that up
It's
for
right
people.
there, Catherine.
Right, for
The
people
only
who
thing
would.
is missing is my direct phone number, 407-719-0610. There it is.
There
Bam.
it
That's how you
is.
get in touch with me.
Yeah. So definitely, I don't want people to. I mean, I don't want to leave without people finding or knowing how to get in touch with you, because especially during this time, we need each other, but we also need more people like you and Dr. Robinson and the services that you guys, provide. You do such a great job in what's going on. So again, our life coach will be back with us next week. I'm not quite sure what we're going to talk about, but she'll be back with us next week. So we always look forward to that, and we always look forward to the third Monday of every month, because she is our very own Cathy Meeks. She is our sex therapist, and we have a lot of fun with her. We didn't really get much to talk about whether or not there's a lot of sex going on right now, but probably during the young...
There ain't too much of that going on, so that's okay.
So we're not going to have a baby boom, in 9 months, Dr. Cathy?
I don't think so.
Oh, really?
The new baby boom.
Probably. Well, I mean, probably doing the young folks, because they don't think about anything else. This is nothing serious for them. Anyway. Oh, by the way, I sent you something a while back. Did you get that email I sent you with the Asian thing that I sent you? Did you?
No.
I sent it to you.
Well, I gotta search.
Yeah.
I'll look.
That was like a month ago that I sent it to
I'll
you.
look. Okay, I'll look at it.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. With that being said, this is the Journey 2020, where we come to you every Monday at 7 p.m. This Dr. Cathy Meeks. She's out of Robinson & Associates, also our life coach, Regina Johnson, a.k.a. Lynn. She helps us with our finances and help us raise our credit score, help us deal with our bad spending habits. And we always ask the question, is there any romance without finance? From the woman's perspective, heck to the no. But brothers, we sure enough try. We always got a game. We always got something to say, right? Just because you drive your Mercedes and I pull up on my 10-speed don't mean we can't hang out. You know what I'm saying? Always got a little something. Anyway, I'm Charles Morris. Please remember, don't listen to them people out of D.C. You better use some common sense and make sure that you vote. Vote. I'm Charles Morris.
Vote.
Everybody, please.
Yes, vote.
Yes. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe and be sound.
Yeah, vote.